gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for January 18th, 2023 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Ubisoft employees are not happy with Yves, and Miyamoto is a coward. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Mike Minotti from GamesBeat. Mike, how are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to once again hear you talk mad shit about Miyamoto, and they'll be like, "I'm joking. I love him, but he's a piece of shit."
But yeah, exactly.
But I love him. He's great, but he's a coward.
But he should pay for his crimes. That's right. We'll get to all that in a bit. But yeah. What you been up to? How are things going with you?
Yeah, things have been good. I've been on a big PlayStation 1 kick lately, and that's been a lot of fun. Yeah, the console. So, because we're playing Resident Evil 1, we played the remake for our little game club we have on our Discord. Then I was like, I want to see what the original was like. And then I ended up just playing through that whole thing. I'm like, oh, this is actually still good too. And now I was playing Pandemonium. And then I started Mega Man Legends too. So, not Mega Man Legends also, not Mega Man Legends 2 yet. So yeah, that console, it certainly has an identity, right? Like a very strong identity. And I was playing Ridge Racer Type 4, of course, which is, one of my favorite games on that system and one of my favorite games ever. So yeah, I've been big PlayStation 1 kick.
Are you ready for what feels like 2023 already about to pop off? Because it's like we're going to get to Friday, Fire Emblem Engage comes out, and then after that, it's just like one game after another for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be popping off. It might be kind of like what's a mellow version of popping?
No, I've said popping off, and I'm sticking to it. If you want to find a different word, you can look up it on the thesaurus yourself. Man, I really struggle with thesaurus.
We got Fire Emblem Engage, which I'm still a little concerned about. Then we got Forspoken, which I think we're all concerned about, right?
Yes. Yes. We have a story about that today, too. They updated the demo. We'll get into all that.
Interesting. But then we have Dead Space, and that'll be exciting.
Yeah, we have Dead Space, and then we have Wild Hearts. Okay, all right. Maybe not popping off, but we'll see. We'll see. I guess it just depends on like stuff like Wild Hearts and Life Like a Dragon Ishin. If those ones are also games I want to play, it's going to be a very busy couple of months. So
sure.
We'll see. All right.
There are lots of games, that's for sure.
Yes, exactly. There's a ton, and and then in March, later in February, we get Kerbal Space Program 2. In March, we get that new Star Wars game. So a lot happening. All right, let's get into the mess. But before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. Or I'll get Mike. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Ubisoft Paris employees to strike following CEO comments. This comes from Nicholas Leon at Dual Shockers. Employees of Ubisoft's Paris division are set to strike on January 27th. This comes as a response to statements made by Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot on his plan to combat the company's poor financial performance in 2022. As reported by Kotaku, Guillemot intends to cut company expenses by $215 million. And in an email to employees, he called for unity and dedication, writing, "I am also asking that each of you..." Should I do my Yves voice?
Yes, but with dignity.
Okay. I am also asking that each of you be especially careful and strategic with your spending and initiatives to ensure we're being as efficient and lean as possible. Man, if someone came up and talked to me like that and said those words, I'd strike too. In response, the Ubisoft Paris chapter of the trade union Solidaires Informatique, man, I think I got close to that, but man, that felt wrong.
And you said in the Yee's voice it would help.
Yes, I think it probably would help. Basically the union announced its intentions to strike. Union members say Guillemot's language is a dog whistle, signaling the deterioration of working conditions at the company. And in response, the union members have released a set of demands. Here's the 4 points: an immediate 10% increase in all salaries, implementation of a 4-day work week, transparency on the evolution of the workplace, an end to disguised layoffs. The union accuses Guillemot of passing corporate failures onto the workforce and warns that his request for employees to give their all could increase developer burnout and harsher crunch cycles. Mike, I mean, we talked about this on other shows. Like when this first started happening, Yves Guillemot sent out that letter to employees, and at the time, everyone reading that was like, "This seems pretty bad and not like a good idea. It's going to make employees mad." And here we are.
Yeah, it was just bizarre. It was a really weird message. I mean, it was so bad that employees are striking just based on basically him being a poor leader. I mean, I assume he has like a secretary or somebody who has to look at these things and tell him like, maybe this isn't the message you should be sending out to everyone. I mean, I guess he's the boss. He could do what he wants. And maybe he's like, no, this is a rallying cry. This is going to be great. Everyone's going to like this a lot. Yeah, so I don't know. I have no idea what that was about. Obviously, it seems to have backfired unless his goal was to tank the company. Good on Ubisoft Paris, though, especially when people are striking for 4-day work weeks. Media is always the last one I think is going to get that, because as long as somebody else is working in the games industry, we're going to have to cover them. So, yes, everybody else, get going on that 4-day work week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we listed the numerous issues that Ubisoft is facing in order to kind of get back on track. And I mean, one of the problems was a lot of people don't want to like go to work at Ubisoft because of its toxic work environment, or its history of having a toxic work environment, and it just seems kind of like a mess. Now, they've only exacerbated that now with that letter, and people are going to look over there now and be like, okay, the employees feel that they're being treated unfairly, and that they are having the buck passed on to them instead of management taking responsibility. This is only going to make it harder for Ubisoft to dig itself out of the hole. And really, it just feels like things are going to continue to spiral because I don't have any confidence in Yves Guillemot or the leadership over at Ubisoft to sort of navigate these treacherous waters that they find themselves in. It's not a Skull and Bones reference, but I suppose it could be if we really wanted to. But
anything can be with enough love.
With enough love, absolutely. So, I mean, how do you feel? Like, things are just going to keep getting worse for Ubisoft right now, right?
Honestly, Jeff, how I feel is that there's not going to be an Ubisoft in 3 years, which is maybe pessimistic and maybe an overreaction. But I mean, look, we've seen this kind of thing happen before. We've seen it happen to the THQs and the Acclaims and the Midways of the world. And sometimes you think, oh, well, these guys have been around forever. That can't happen to them. I mean, what's the way out here? It seems like the way out was for them to get sold, and they couldn't, even at a time when your chances of that were as good as they were ever going to be. So that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I just feel like this is going to get worse and worse and worse until they're selling IP, and there's no more Ubisoft as we know it.
Yeah, Ubisoft just is like there's no really great answer for them. We said that stuff. They are big and unwieldy, so it's going to be difficult to sell because no one that wants to buy them wants to acquire all of those employees in addition to all the IP. So it's like that's not a great answer. But then they also need all those employees in order to be able to make all the games they need to make. So it's like, well, okay, well, what's the answer? There is no good answer, and so it's like they need to keep kind of maintaining this course because really the only viable solution is to keep putting out decent games. That's like honestly the only thing they can do. And so they need to be attracting like new employees, and they need to keep the employees that they do have happy. And I don't know if they have the appetite to be able to do that because they just seem like. I think Yves Guillemot was like, oh man, looking around like this thing got out of hand. It's too big. Maybe we should like they are not replacing people as they leave. So it's like that. In his heart of hearts, he said, I want to be getting rid of people, but he also knows he just can't because they need this many people to make the games they've been making. And it's like, and the employees obviously can feel that, and so I'm glad that they are like putting their foot down and like demanding like you need us more than we need you, and so you would expect them to be able to like wield some of that power, especially in France, where like as people in chat were pointing out, like they don't mess around with labor rules, and I don't think that they would get all 4 of these points. Like you put a 4-day work week on like the list so that it's like one of the bargaining points that you're like, well, okay, we won't take that right now. You can have that back, but then we definitely need the 10% pay increase. And it's, well, Ubisoft, that would probably be something Ubisoft doesn't want to do, but man, these employees can really demand it because they have them a little bit in a situation where Ubisoft doesn't have a lot of other opportunities, so they probably will have to pay up for many of these people to keep them around and keep them happy.
Even the bets that Ubisoft does make, like, are bad or mistimed. They try to get into NFTs early, and well, I mean, NFTs are bad and don't work anyways. But then, like, they did it poorly. Also, on top of that, then it's like, okay, well, we need a battle royale. They relate to that, and I mean, I've seen some people saying, I don't know if this is true, that a lot of those canceled games that they were talking about earlier were just a bunch of different battle royales that they had in development, and it's just, man, I just don't know. And then even things that seem like should be safe bets, like, well, we'll just make a sequel to that Mario game we got to make. Even that doesn't really work out for them right now. So everything just seems to be working against them, except for Assassin's Creed. And I bet that new kind of smaller scale one is going to be a nice little boost to them. I don't know what's going to happen with Infinity, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, the whole games as a service thing, there's such a turn against that. Jet, people are freaking out about that screenshot for Suicide Squad, right? Now you're going to, that's your direction for Assassin's Creed. Well, maybe that's going to be too late too. Maybe the time when people would have been okay with that is over. Maybe people are really going to turn against that bad.
Yep, it's tough, and even like I said, like, yeah, you listed, like, okay, Mirage might do all right. We don't know about Infinity. The Assassin's Creed's definitely sort of reached a soft ceiling in terms of its growth. So it's like there's no guarantee that's the answer either. I don't envy Ubisoft's position, but also they put themselves in this position. A lot of people point out they ended up making the same game over and over across all their different stuff. They used that formula, and now they seem lost without knowing that formula can't work anymore or won't help them grow at the rate they need to grow, and they don't really know how to do much else. And it's like, ooh, that's rough. Okay, let's see. Let's move ahead here. European games market struggled in December as new releases faltered. This comes from Christopher Dring over at GamesIndustry.biz. Console and PC game sales struggled across Europe last month, according to the latest GSD data. 27.4 million track games were sold across European markets in December, a drop of 13% over the year before. 11.4 million of those sales were digital, down 17% year on year, while nearly 16 million sales were physical, down just over 10%. FIFA 23 was comfortably the biggest selling game of the month, ahead of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. However, if Pokemon Violet and Scarlet sales were combined, that game would have been number 2, despite the fact Nintendo doesn't share digital data. Man, Pokemon's just massive.
Sales, even when it's bad, apparently.
Yes, even when like everyone hates it, it still is just massive. Sales of FIFA in December are up 5% compared to the year before, possibly helped by the World Cup. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's December sales are up nearly 6% compared to Call of Duty Vanguard in December. And Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's December sales are up 5% higher than what Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl managed during the same period last year. The games that pulled the overall market down were legacy titles such as GTA 5 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which both saw big drops compared with December last year. Meanwhile, key titles last Christmas, such as F1 and Just Dance, didn't perform as strongly this year. So it seems like those perennial hits are finally like finding some faults, right?
Yeah. I mean, we noticed this looking at the NPD things that Mario Kart 8 was number 11 for the whole year in the US, which is like the first time it wasn't in the top 10, maybe ever, at least since it's been on Switch. GTA 5, same thing. In an ideal world, Jeff, GTA 6 would have been something that's coming out this year, even maybe last year, right? But that's still probably a good ways off, maybe even later because of that leak. I don't know, man. Even Just Dance isn't working for Ubisoft anymore, man.
Yeah, it's just all these things that people are relying on. Even like GTA can still make a lot of money from GTA Online, so that's not really in trouble. But they were also making a lot of money from just selling new copies of that game over and over and over again. So then you look at something like Just Dance, definitely not a GTA equivalent, but a game that has continually made money for Ubisoft. Even that's not working. It's obviously people are saving their money here and there. I think that people feel that the economy is really sort of on the precipice of not doing so hot. So they're cutting back spending. I think that's hurting game spending a little bit. Also, just I think people might be in a transitional period where, okay, we spent a lot of money on these new consoles. Maybe I don't want to play the same things I was playing before, but also not all the new stuff is quite here yet. The stuff that feels like a PS5 or Xbox Series X native game. And so people are like, okay, I'm going to be in a holding pattern until these 2023 games start coming out, which is going to happen real soon.
Right. I mean, we did see in the US that spending was up a bit, mostly because of console sales, and that's probably just because there were more PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's available for all the Christmas stuff. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be great news for a bit here. We're seeing still people struggling. I mean, we know what Microsoft is firing 10,000 people today. I know it's not clear to me how much of that's going to impact their gaming division, but it's just tech in general is kind of battening down here.
Yeah, I mean, it was Microsoft, right? 10,000 people being laid off. That's to me, that stuff always feels like such an overreaction. But
right,
I mean,
if he gets more overreactions, which is why it always, this happened a bit ago when Meta did a bunch of layoffs and everybody else reacts to that.
Yes, exactly. Like no one wants to be the company like looking like they're not doing anything to prepare for the recession. And it's like, man, this is what the kind of stuff this is why recessions happen, because people get scared and that scares other people, and then the snowball rolls and everyone suddenly doesn't have enough money because everyone stops spending money. But I mean, what can we do about that? And it is definitely going to affect gaming performance in terms of the marketplace. Also in Europe, the parliament voted to take action against loot boxes, gaming addiction, gold farming, and more. This comes from James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. The European Parliament voted today to adopt a report calling for the European Commission to address several issues in the games industry that it believes will better protect consumers and especially young people. The report was led by MEP, which I'm going to say is a MEP, Adriana Melodana Lopez. I actually don't know what it stands for, but I'm sure checking on it. Yeah, MEP, exactly. It secured 577
Minister
votes.
Of Economic priorities. We'll go with that.
Cool, you got it. Well, we don't need any corrections now. That secured 577 votes in favor and 56 votes against, with 15 abstentions. Lopez made more than a dozen recommendations in her report, including a call for harmonized rules across the European Union's single market when providing clear information about games content, as well as systems that help parents understand and control how much time and money their children spend on games. The Pan-European Game Information, PEGI, I didn't know that's what PEGI stood for.
Yeah, I didn't know PEGI stood for something. Yeah. We're learning so much. PEGI 13.
I thought that was just a lady out there doing age ratings for games.
She's right there with Denise Rumors.
Yes, Denise Rumors and PEGI out there. They're having ladies' night. That's going to be a good time. PEGI's age rating system was highlighted as an example of something that could deliver even more information. This is like some stuff that we heard the ESRB was going to do, and I think they have done. We're like, hey, we're going to tell you when loot boxes are in a game. It sounds like they're suggesting more stuff like that. But the MEPs also voted to have the commission analyze the impact of loot boxes and prompts to make in-game purchases, taking action if necessary, as well as investigating whether gold farming can be linked to financial crimes and human rights abuses. Who was Steve Bannon was like in charge of a gold farming organization, so I'm going to say yes, it probably does lead to some sort of crime. Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, MEP or MEP, member of European Parliament, member of European Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. They also call for developers to avoid designing games that feed addiction, with Lopez citing the WHO's recognition of gaming disorder as an example of the state of addiction among some players. Other actions recommended include prioritizing data protection, improving gender imbalance on the industry's workforce, and making it easier for consumers to cancel subscription as it is to sign up, or as easy to do that as it is to sign up.
No dark patterns.
No, I think this is in reaction to dark patterns. Like they're like talking about like, oh, we're going to analyze like the prompts that enable you to pay for stuff.
Yeah, open that banana.
I know she wants. No, she already has a banana. She won't eat that one.
Oh, that's the worst. What is it with kids in that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Tell her Uncle Mikey says no more bananas ever, as a lesson.
All right. I just yelled at her. She gets it. Listen, the banana law must be laid down once and for all. This just mostly sounds like they are like looking around and say, hey, the European Union has a lot of power in this space. Let's make sure that we are really looking at this stuff. None of it is very strict or oppressive in terms of like preventing developers from making the kinds of games they want to play. It just sounds like a standard boilerplate regulation to ensure players are being treated fairly, consumers are being protected, and children aren't being exploited. But that might lead to like, hey, mobile games might have to really have a reckoning about loot boxes. That's something that really has happened on the console and PC side for the most part. Obviously, there are exceptions. Mobile gaming is still kind of a nightmare, Mike. My kids get into that stuff every once in a while, and it's really still pretty bad. And it'd be nice if the European Union could use some of its power to put a stop to some of that stuff.
I mean, that seems to be like, to me, this stuff is like, that's not even an issue anymore because I don't have kids. Everybody with kids, especially people playing mobile games, this is always a big concern still.
Yep.
Is this basically, these kind of gambling mechanics there and how exploitive it is for children. But, when they use some words like, they're calling for developers to avoid designing games that feed addiction. Well, what does that mean exactly?
Yes.
Maybe in the full literature, they do a better job at defining that, I suppose. But I mean, all games want you to keep playing, right?
Right.
So what is addiction and what is just good game design, right?
Yes, it's really, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that has like a slippery slope side to it when it comes to these things. And I mean, even that I think that WHO designation of gaming disorder got some backlash at the time too. I feel like we talked about that, and it was like, oh, this doesn't exactly measure up to what we think of as an actual health disorder. But at the same time, this is not like, oh, they are passing a law. This is a report that they are looking at and be like, hey, we've looked into these things and we want to adopt this report as something that we want to look into further. You would hope that once it actually comes down to putting things into place that would affect the people's ability to make games, that they wouldn't interfere too much with making good games. Now, as part of all this, the other half of this was, okay, we also recognize that gaming is a huge boon to the economies in Europe, and we want to encourage that. We want to give out an official like European Game Award. They talked about those things as well. So it's like, okay, yeah, we want to treat this stuff as serious and potentially harmful in some instances, or we at least want to look into the possibilities of how it's harmful. At the same time, we do want to keep getting that sweet tax income. So let's keep fostering games and enabling them to do what they want to do. And I think this is just them like doing both things at the same time, so it doesn't all just come out too heavy-handed on one side as opposed to the other. All right, Motorsport Games threatened with source code leak over unpaid wages. This is a pretty wild story from Nicholas Leon at DualShockers. Racing car games publisher and esports organizer Motorsports Games has been threatened with a security breach of the studio's game source code. This threat by an anonymous employee comes as the latest development in a looming legal battle and ongoing publicity scandal regarding unpaid wages, as well as the company's fundraising proposals. Racing car game publisher, I repeated that. Over 30 employees at Motorsport Games' Russian office.
Yeah, look at this, everybody. Hey, everybody, Jeff just copied and pasted the same bullet point twice.
I messed up, everybody. Hey, look at this. Look how I messed up.
What a silly.
Over 30 employees at Motorsports Games' Russian office have reportedly not been paid since last October due to Russia's ongoing war with Ukraine and are threatening legal action if outstanding wages are not paid by January 25th. This information was revealed to Insider Gaming by a company informant. Said employees were ordered to relocate from Russia to Georgia, the country, not the state, without assistance in order to receive their salaries, the contracts of which would be renewed for 20% less wages. Evidently, this is not enough for one anonymous employee who has threatened to release the source code for 4 of the publisher's titles, which include NASCAR Ignition 21, NASCAR Heat 5, IndyCar, and KartCraft, in response to a lack of any noticeable movement on the studio's part. Yeah, this you kind of. I mean, obviously, you need to pay employees. Really, the employees have all the power, as evidenced by they're the ones that have the source code. They're the ones that have access to this stuff.
I mean, if anybody should know that the workers own the means of production, it should be Russia, right?
You would think so. Apparently not, though. And asking someone to move to a different country, and then also saying we're not going to help you do that, but this is the only way you're going to keep getting paid. And also, once you do that, we are going to pay you 20% less. All of that is incredibly wild. And I'm I have no idea what these employees could do. Like, yeah, they say they're threatening legal action, but like, will that actually remedy the situation? I have no idea what it's like in Russia. You would hope so. But hey, if this stuff leaks, it's not going to be a good thing for this developer. Like, whenever source code gets out there, it creates creates opportunities for other developers to copy those games, but it also creates a lot of problems for cheats, where people can now see how these games work and build cheat systems that completely exploit the game and ruin it for other online players. But yeah, we'll see how the story develops going forward.
Yeah, I can't imagine not being paid since October. I mean, geez.
Yes, like that's right. At a certain point, it's like that's I don't even know how you keep going on there, like working at a company like that.
You know, you blame the war. I mean, is that everything? Is everyone just like, well, we can't pay you for the next 6 months because of the war? I can't imagine. Like, the country would just stop, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
I know things are tough over there, but I imagine people still get paid their salaries,
right? And that's the idea of economic sanctions. Obviously, is to put the pressure internally on the people inside the country, so they put pressure on the government. So that they, excuse me, I think I actually hit the mute button. So they then go put pressure on the government, but still, it's like, well, if you find yourself in that situation, these companies can't be like, well, you got to move, or if you do have to do that, you got to help them move if that's the plan. All right, Forspoken's PS5 demo has been updated, and PC features and requirements have been detailed. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. During a live stream on Tuesday, Forspoken creative producer Ryo Mitsuno said the company was rolling out an improved version of the game's PS5 demo, which was released in early December. Here's a quote. Today, we will be releasing an update to the Forspoken demo. We've been listening to your reactions and feedback on the demo, and we wanted to do whatever we could during this time to make the demo as enjoyable of an experience as possible. The updated demo adds button mapping functionality, makes locked-on enemies that move off screen remain locked on for a little bit longer, adjusts certain text sizes, and fixes various technical issues. Square Enix has also revealed the game's minimum recommended Ultra PC settings. We'll get into that in a second. An updated demo. Now, this feels strange, but I feel like this is maybe a little bit more common for Square Enix to respond to feedback from a demo. They've done that for a while, right?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, I mean, I remember the Bravely Default 2 demo. They did a lot of kind of feedback from that. There's even a survey, like, after you finish the thing. I don't know. I don't understand why Square Enix still loves demos so much. They're like one of the few companies that do it, and it usually just seems to hurt them more than anything. They released a Ball on Wonderworld demo, the absolute madmen.
Yep.
And, I mean, people play these demos a lot of times like, well, that wasn't very good. And they're not thinking, I'll go try the demo again in a couple months. They're saying, well, I'm not going to buy that game.
Yeah, it's weird. And I've heard a lot of people saying that about Forspoken specifically. A lot of people are like, hey, I played the demo. It didn't click with me. I'm not going to play it. I'm not excited about that game anymore. And that's happened more frequently with Square Enix demos than any other publisher. And I guess maybe they just put out more demos than other publishers. But yeah, I mean, the other games, like the Bravely Default games, like they would put out really early demos, and then they would fundamentally change big parts of their game, and the games would come out better. I don't know if the same thing could happen here with Forspoken. I suppose, though, like having button mapping and stuff, maybe that wasn't in the core game, and now in response to this, it's like they put it in there. It's like, okay, that's pretty good.
That's good, but I don't know. I feel like Forspoken, I'm sure it has like these little problems that you can fix in a couple months before release.
Right.
But what about fundamental issues that people have with the game, like just its tone, its writing, its aesthetic?
Right.
What can you do about that?
Not anything. Not in a couple months. Not in a few weeks. No. Yeah, no way. But I mean, we'll see. I still haven't played that demo. I think I'm going to download it today and give it a try because I'm like, I want to see for myself if I'm going to have any interest in Forspoken. It looks fun sometimes in videos. It's just that tone does not look great either. In terms of the minimum requirements, we have a list of details here. On the PC, for minimum, they require an AMD Ryzen 5 1600 or an Intel Core i7 3770 with a graphics card equivalent to a GTX 1060 or an AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT. The 1060 is like one of the more popular cards, one of the most more common cards. It should be able to run just about any game, period, across the board at 1080p and around 60 frames per second. That's changed over the last couple of years, and this game is definitely not going to do that. It says they are aiming for 720p and 30 frames per second. That's pretty rough, though. It shouldn't be that drastic of a drop. Now, yeah, it's like, OG Kawangi in chat says, who's playing at 720p these days? No one. Basically no one. So that's real rough.
Switch users, that's it.
Yes, exactly. For recommended specs, though, they're aiming for something closer to an i7 8700K, and for the GPU, a 3070. Now, that's recommended. That's pretty high. But then go all the way up to ultra settings. Real quick, recommended was at for 1440p at 30 frames per second.
I don't want to see recommended PC settings saying 30
frames
FPS.
per second. No way. Absolutely not. Now, if you want 4K and 60 frames per second, Mike, you're going to have to drop for a 4080 and an Intel Core i7 12700K. I think I have a 12700K or close to it in this PC right here, but I have a 3080, and I'm like, what? You're telling me? Okay, 4K is a lot. I get that. But, man, still, that seems like a big ask because that 4080 just came out. And they're already saying that. I don't want to see the recommended be 30 frames per second. I don't want to see like a 4080 anywhere on one of these spreadsheets. Just don't even say that. Leave that out for now. Give it a couple,
We're not
give like a
thinking
year.
about that.
Yeah.
Like if somebody has a 4080, they're just expecting the best. Like you don't need to put it on here, right?
Yes, exactly.
I think they just wanted to be able to write the word 60 FPS somewhere on their spreadsheet.
That does feel like what it is. Absolutely, yes. And they say for that one you'll need an NVMe SSD of 150 gigabytes or more as well. So, oof indeed. All right, let's keep moving along here. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak has sold more than 5 million copies. This comes from the Twitter account for Monster Hunter. We're thrilled to share that Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak has sold more than 5 million units worldwide across Nintendo Switch and PC/Steam. Thank you for your support. That's pretty good, Mike. I think the strategy of that they switched to a couple generations ago of instead of putting out the follow-up game, I think it would usually be called like Monster Hunter G or something along those lines.
Like Try,
yeah. And that's equivalent to Pokemon Yellow. That's like how Monster Hunter would work. Like, hey, there's one generation, and then we're gonna do a follow-up in the same generation. And those used to sell very well. It seems like the DLC strategy did not hurt that at all. They've continued just fine. 5 million is a big number for something that is DLC. And of course, you could like go to the store and just like get Sunbreak. I think that would include it. Basically, also as a standalone. And so it's like they're kind of hitting it from both sides, and that worked very well. Also, this feels like it really puts into perspective that Callisto Protocol $5 million. 5 million copies sold expectation was just wild. If Sunbreak is like doing 5 million, there was no chance Callisto Protocol was ever going to do that, right?
No, in the best of situations, and that game is not facing anywhere close to the best of situations with just the reception and coming out before Dead Space, it being a new IP and economic all these things going against it. But no matter what. Unless it came out and was, 95 average Metacritic, everyone's like, this is game of the year. Maybe then.
Maybe.
I just don't know. I said it before. It took a bit of work for Final Fantasy VII Remake to get to 5 million, and that's freaking Final Fantasy VII Remake. But this is great for Monster Hunter Rise. That's 5 million. Everybody who bought this, unless they bought that standalone, already bought Monster Hunter Rise, right? So they bought this on top of that. And now, we have the Game Pass release coming out, and it's coming to PlayStation 5. So revenue for Monster Hunter is just going to be increasing here. So
increasing and reliable. They're just going to keep making money off Monster Hunter. It's Capcom in a very strong position.
And you let this run for a bit. I'm sure they're going to be announcing the next one soon, presumably Monster Hunter World 2 or what have you, and it'll be another giant hit. Everyone will be happy.
All right, Sackboy is the next PlayStation series that is coming to mobile. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. A new free-to-play running game based on Little Big Planet is coming to mobile next month. Yep, of course it's a runner. Ultimate Sackboy will be released globally on Android and iOS on February 21st.
I don't think they know what the word ultimate means.
Yeah, that's this is it. This is it for Sackboy. It's the end here.
This is the ultimate form. It has never been better than this.
Yep, and there will be no Sackboy after this. The game will be developed and published by UK Malta studio Exient under license from Sony. It's also available now for pre-registration on the Google Play Store. I guess I'll go pre-register for it. Mike, I've actually never played a Little Big Planet game, but I like Sackboy's Big Adventure, and I think I like him as a character. I think it's probably a good idea to keep like putting stuff out with Sackboy in it because he's cute. Kids probably like him. My kids definitely like Sackboy.
Sure.
And a runner on mobile seems like a good fit for this series, but it's also like I'm not too excited about this either.
No, I don't know. I feel like Astro kind of stole Sackboy's lunch a little bit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I don't know, Little Big Planet games were always fine to me. I was never that interested in the creative stuff, and it was usually more fun just to watch a video of somebody's level that's a working calculator than actually go and play it. Sackboy's Big Adventure I thought was okay. It kind of just felt like a more bland version of Mario 3D World, though, to be honest. But yeah, what is Media Molecule up to? Because they didn't make Sackboy's Big Adventure. I know they were working on Dreams Forever, right. That's what.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they're probably working on something else, but like I think it's easy to also think that they're probably continuing to develop and work on Dreams. They should probably be moving Dreams to PC, but also it seems a little bit late for that.
Absolutely, it seems a little late. I don't know. I wonder if they got to make an actual like game again and not creator stuff. I wonder if maybe we're done with that for now, but maybe not. Maybe I mean, I just don't think that kind of thing is going to really hit anymore. Even Mario Maker 2 didn't really hit like the first one, right? It seems like that's a trend we're already moving on from.
Yeah, I mean, there are other things you can do with that sort of concept, but it does feel like it's been tried multiple times now, and barring some breakthrough, the create your own game is maybe needs a break before we come back to it again. And I if I'm like in charge of telling Media Molecule what they do next, it's probably like, hey, we tried two different angles, Little Big Planet a bunch of times, and then we tried Dreams, and Dreams is really promising, and even that couldn't quite like really spark this creative renaissance among people who play games. So I think we should probably, I don't know, try something else. But who knows? Who knows what they'll actually end up doing?
But then, like, you have these giant games like a Roblox or Fortnite that are giant games of their own right and kind of have that stuff built in anyways.
Yes.
So it's just hard for this stuff to stand out. What was Xbox's one called? The one they released, the Conqueror pack?
Was it Project Spark?
Project Spark sounds correct, sir.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Man, I'm going to crush you the next time we play Jeopardy. All right. Wah Peach was almost a thing from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. The prospect of Walu Peach is what they say. It would be Wah Peach. This is driving me crazy. I know we talked about this last night. But it would not be Walu Peach. It would just be Wah Peach, right? For sure?
I mean, look, you're asking me, Jeff. I mean, it would make
Mike,
me feel better if I tell you you're
me.
right. Yeah, yes, absolutely. It would be Walu Peach, and these assholes writing Wah Peach should go to hell.
Okay, well, I'm the asshole who's writing Wah Peach, and then they are saying Walu Peach. I don't think that would be right.
Whatever it was. Which one you wanted. I'm sorry.
Yes, you're useless. The prospect of Walu Peach had never entered the gaming sphere, though we had seen the concept in previous interviews in other sources like the manga. All right, really? But I guess so. But a recently published interview with the vice president of Camelot Software Planning, Shugo Takahashi, has confirmed that such a character once reached the design phase. The 2008 Nindori interview reappeared on Nintendo Dream Web and was brought to our attention by a Twitter user who provided a translated summary of the contents. It seems that after seeing the success of Waluigi in Mario Tennis, the Camelot team was set about trying to make Lightning Strike twice and began working on the designs for Walu Peach. A fallen angel take on the classic princess is what the concept would have been.
So it's Bayonetta.
Basically, yes. I mean, that's exactly right? If this concept sounds horrifying, that's because it probably was. Shigeru Miyamoto must have felt the same as the legendary Nintendo director shot down the idea before even seeing the designs.
Oh, there's no way he was going to let that happen.
He was like too afraid to even look at it. Before even seeing the design, he's like, listen, I'm just thinking about that concept makes me too horny. We can't allow it. I need to stop it.
How dare you do that to my daughter?
Yes, in its infancy, we must destroy it. Apparently, he was concerned that the character would be too much like Dro-Onjo, the iconic villain from the 1977 anime Yatterman. Yeah, that would have been a real problem, Mike.
Yatterman.
Yeah, and this would have been an issue. This would have destroyed Nintendo's legacy.
Up.
I would have been personally offended on Yatterman's behalf.
I mean, I don't see why Wah Peach was going to have to look like this character specifically. Jeez.
I mean,
she's real iconic, I guess. I wonder why.
I'm gonna bring this up for people to look at. So vamp for me for a second while I look up Doron Joe.
I mean, that's just a dominatrix. In 1977, we already had this character, huh? Jeez.
You were gonna say
smoking constantly.
We had dominatrixes in 1977. Yeah, we did actually. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't think sex was invented until the 80s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Reagan. That was a big Reagan initiative.
It was a big Reagan initiative. Yeah, they're.
I see it. Okay, cool. Kind of looks like
I don't get Peach vibes from her.
Yeah, what I get is almost every final evolution of a Pokemon is what she actually looks like to me. So.
Yeah, she just looks like that. Yeah, she looks like that new final evolution of the grass one.
Yes, that's
which is awful.
Yeah.
Sprigatito's final evolution is just a dominatrix. That's what I literally. That's what I said the first time I saw it, and that right there made me feel better about that.
Blacker I want to click on a lot of the pictures. Don't judge me. Okay. Yeah, I wish Peach existed. I don't know what else to do about that.
To be devil's advocate here.
Sure.
We invented Waluigi. We invented Waluigi because Wario needed a doubles partner for tennis.
Right.
And Peach already had one. Peach already had Daisy. So, there's a lot of that going forward where you kind of need to pair these characters off. So
I like the idea that
they're kind of good.
All Mario character universe decisions are based off what's happening in tennis. Like if you need something in tennis, then we can do it. But otherwise, I can't help you.
What if we put Walu Peach with Candy Kong and everything? Would that be a good duo?
That'd be very good. Very good for me, Mike.
Okay, let's move on.
16 years later, Mass Effect's Top Gun Easter egg has been discovered. This comes from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. One Mass Effect fan has found an Easter egg that has been hiding in plain sight all along. Over on Twitter, user Miss Snizzabel commented on how Mass Effect's opening has a very similar design to the opening spread of text from Top Gun, the 1986 film that starred Tom Cruise as the hotshot fighter jet pilot. It turns out it is more than just a passing resemblance, as former Mass Effect director and current CEO of Humanoid Studios, Casey Hudson, confirmed the link. He said, "Finally, someone has noticed this. I've been waiting so long." Let me bring this up here so people can actually see
incredible.
It is just the exact same thing. And I'm like, how did I not ever realize this? Because, I mean, it is just
the same intro.
Yeah, so for audio listeners, the Top Gun intro basically goes like, on March 3rd, 1969, the United States Navy established an elite school, blah, blah, blah. They succeeded. Today, the Navy calls it Fighter Weapons School. The Flyers call it, Top Gun, and then it shows the big Top Gun logo. Oh, we are losing frames, everybody. We're going to say, yeah, we should be back. We'll see. If it keeps losing it, I'll do something about it. But in the meantime, the Mass Effect one is, in the year 2148, explorers on Mars, blah, blah, blah. They call it the greatest discovery in human history. The civilizations of the galaxy call it Mass Effect. And again, it's the big logo. It's the exact same thing. And apparently deliberate, of course. Of course it was. Obviously, it must have been. I love this, though. Mike, I love Top Gun. I love Mass Effect. This is great.
Yeah, I love that, man. Like, this game is going to be this big deal. So, our intro is obviously just going to be a joke that only we'll get. So that'll be nice, right?
Yes, exactly.
God, games are so playful, man. In a way, sometimes it feels like they maybe aren't as much. But yeah, it's that's good stuff. I like Mass Effect 1. I feel like a lot of people, especially with some of the improvements they added to Mass Effect 1, that one came out really well when they did that remastered trilogy.
Yeah. We continue to lose frames, but I'm not sure if there's much I'm going to be able to do about it. So I'm going to keep recording this version, and we'll just have to upload it. And people, if you're missing out on stuff right now, I'm sorry. You can catch the rest later. SteamWorld Telegraphed special broadcast is coming soon. This is from the developers of the SteamWorld games. Folks, you're hereby invited to the SteamWorld Telegraph special broadcast. Come see what's coming next for SteamWorld. Mark your calendars, January 23rd, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, or Central European Time, excuse me. And that would be 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I am a big SteamWorld Dig 2 fan. Mike, you know this about me. I know that you eventually came around on playing the game and enjoyed it, not as much as I did, but you definitely like it more than Hollow Knight, right?
Absolutely not. No, shut up, go to hell. No, definitely not. I mean, look, it was good. But I mean, is that what you're hoping for here? SteamWorld Dig 3?
I mean, I would love a SteamWorld Dig 3, and then I would love, they've done a lot of great SteamWorld games at this point. I would love a new one that is just as surprising as the 2D tactics game they did, or the card game. All the stuff has been at least good for the most part, and some of it has been fantastic to great. So if they show up and say, hey, yeah, we have SteamWorld Dig 3, it's going to build on the Metroidvania concept that we had in SteamWorld Dig 2, and it's going to be even bigger, and you're going to have more fun gadgets to find in the world. Yes, sign me up for that. I want that. And then keep doing surprising offshoots with this series as well. That'd be cool. I also think maybe it's time for a PlayStation 1 and 64 level 3D SteamWorld game. That would also rule. I'm like, totally give me that.
Wasn't their last game the Gunk, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
That was like their 3D
Gunk
game.
Yep.
People were kind of mellow on it, right?
Exactly. It was I think it was much slighter than people were expecting. And so kind of it just didn't wow most people who played it. And I think it's not like fundamentally bad, but it's just not very impressive either. I think there's a chance they can go back, try again, maybe come back with something that's even better in 3D. But that takes a lot of work. We'll see. But I'm a big SteamWorld fan. Also, it's like, oh yeah, more announcements coming up, more showcases to show off stuff coming probably this year. It's going to be a big year for big games, but indie games are going to keep coming out as well. So we'll have to look forward to all that. Finally, happy trails to Stadia. Mike, here it is. We've reached the end of the road for our good pal, Phil Harrison and all the folks over there at Google who are working on Stadia. It is shutting down, I believe, later today. So are you going to go spend any more time with Stadia, Mike?
I don't know if I've spent any time with Stadia outside of that GDC where they debuted it, and I don't know. I was highly skeptical of it from the beginning, Jeff. As you know, I don't want to, kind of throw salt into that wound. It's probably a rough time for some people whose, maybe careers are getting upended. Hopefully everybody else is just landing at other places at Google or finding other places to go. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been pessimistic about cloud gaming. I know it's going to be, it is a part of the landscape right now in some way, and I'm sure it is going to get bigger. Everybody seems to be trying to really push the stuff before it's ready. I mean, I still remember On Live, which is crazy that was a thing that was going on like 2006, 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
People want this technology so bad. Sometimes they want it almost a little too bad. But I guess you gotta put the work in. But man, it sure was. Their strategy was a bit bizarre, especially in terms of just the insane initial investment and popping up all these studios and hiring all these big names, and then not really going anywhere with that.
Yeah, I the thing with me with Stadia, whenever we talk about that GDC launch event, I will never ever get over the museum they had, where it's like anything you dream can be built, and their little museum display had the Dreamcast, the Power Glove, and a copy of E.T. for the Atari, and then it's like coming soon Stadia. It's like, what are you doing? Those are all epic failures. Now, Dreamcast, a very good console. But all these things were such incredible failures, and you want to be the next to that legacy? Well, congratulations. You succeeded at one thing, being a big failure. Holy shit. I think there's a Twitter thread. I don't have it to pull it up, of Frank Cifaldi, I think, who helped work on this. And they're like, the things they were asking for were crazy, but we helped them. We gave them what they wanted. But this is the stuff they wanted, and I just still don't get it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think anyone gets it. But
I think anyone understands.
Yeah,
I don't know what that. Yeah. I don't know. Look at that Power Glove.
Yep. I mean, the Power Glove is
so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad. In the movie,
it's
right?
so bad. Yeah,
it's so bad. I love the Power Glove.
Yeah. There's have you watched that 8-bit Christmas movie that they made a couple years ago on HBO Max?
No.
Yeah, they made a big deal about getting the Power Glove in there, but then they also pointed out how much it sucked in that movie. Yeah. It's not a very good movie. No, you could pass up on it.
Can you believe there's been a bit of a trying to massage ET's image thing going on in the last couple of years? People
I don't know. I don't know if I've noticed that. Oh, people are saying it's not that bad.
Yeah. People are trying to be like, oh, it's too much hate. I don't know.
I think for being a game made in like 6 weeks or whatever it was, it's not that bad. It's still very, very bad.
Look, I don't care what those conditions were, man. I have to play it no matter how long it took them to make. I'm not grading it on a curve.
Did you play it as a kid?
Not as a kid, but I think I played it.
I mean, you played Bubsy 3D as a kid, so I just went
that's true. Well, I'm not. Yeah, but I'm younger than you, Jeff. Even I didn't play any Atari.
Yeah, but I don't know. You could have been at a grandma's house and they had
that was
Atari
the only time.
Yeah,
I was at somebody's grandpa's house and they brought an Atari and they had that weird Smurf game, which was like 2D side scroller before Mario. It wasn't good.
All right, let's get to the polls here. I have one from last Friday. Do you usually go back to games you've already played when they get new modes? 33% said yes, 67% said no. I'm definitely someone who most of the time does not go back, Mike. But for Hitman 3, which is the reason I asked this, I'm 100% going back for Freelancer. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Usually no, but for Hitman, I make an exception.
Yes, I make an exception for Hitman for a lot of things, and this is definitely one of them.
Maybe Backlot will go back to Rocket League when they bring back that mode his son loved and they yanked from him.
Yes, exactly. I think they probably will. Now, I mean, everyone's gonna have their different game that is like the exception for them, but I think most of the time people finish a game and they're finished with it most of the time. And even if you go back to it like years later, if it has new modes, I bet most of the time people are like, I'm just going to play it again regularly and not try out this thing that's different than what I remember. I'm here for the nostalgia factor. Like, so
I go back to play Mario Odyssey, but it's not to check out some mode where I hide balloons for Luigi or whatever the heck that was.
Yes, exactly. I did try that, and I never liked it that much, but yeah, whatever. I get why developers do it, obviously, but I think that we also see it happening less frequently. There was a time when it's like developers would keep adding a bunch of like post-game content and for every kind of game, and now it's like we'll do it very selectively. That freelancer mode though for Hitman, boy, that is exactly what that game needs. A reason to turn it into a real living game you could just go back to over and over and over again. I'm there for it.
Getting if you got a third of people to come back to a game by adding a new mode, that would make it worth it. Jeff, do you have a poll? Because I have a suggestion.
Oh yeah, what's your suggestion? It's probably better than what I was going to say.
I want to know if people think Ubisoft is going to still exist as a major publisher this time 3 years from now. Let's say 3 years. I don't know if there's a time period you think, but you can say 5 years if that's more even for you.
Yeah, let's do 5 years.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wondering if I'm being pessimistic about it.
I think that they will still exist for the most part, but major publisher I think is maybe the important thing there. Because there's a chance that they could just shrink and turn into like an Atari sort of thing, where it's like, oh, remember Ubisoft? Like they still exist in name, but they are not as relevant as they were, or they're just severely diminished. But they still make a lot of money. They just aren't growing, and there's no great pathway for them to grow. And that seems like, okay, well, you just keep making the same amount of money, keep making the games. That's great. Well, that's not how it's going to work if you're a publicly traded company. Okay, I'm going to hit yes. And
is that the wrong hashtag? Game Exercise, that's our podcast.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Mike, what do you have going on? What's going on with you?
Gosh, I'll probably be streaming some more Mega Man Legends tonight on Twitch at Tolkoto. So that'll be fun. Then tomorrow we have our Game S Decides podcast. I think we're going to try to already predict what's going to be Game of the Year, right? That'll be fun.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to pick my whole top 10. I think I have most of it figured out. I'm going to make some shifts around, but I think Game of the Year is mostly pretty easy for me, picking like what I think that's going to be. Although we're going to get to the end of the year, it might actually end up being something different. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm going to make you say a lot of nice things about Genesis games for a change, so that'll be fun too.
I mean, listen, there are some very good Genesis games. Gunstar Heroes is fantastic. All right, that poll is up on Giant Bomb. It's Wednesday. I do believe there's a pit today, so tune in for that. And then after that, Grubber Lang's Punch Out will begin. I got to make sure I get everything finally set up. Most of those things are set up. I just got to plug in an HDMI cable into this monitor up here so I can get a zero latency take on Mike Tyson. Dan is going to try to teach me to beat Mike Tyson. We'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. That could turn into a series if I can beat Mike Tyson, and I'll try to turn into a Punch-Out speedrunner. Dan's been setting some better times every night recently, so I'm going to have to really get on this level here pretty fast. And then for the rest of the week, we will have a lot of the typical shows. Look out for Blight Club continue on Thursday. We'll have a UPF on Friday. But in the meantime, Mike, thank you so much for spending time talking with me about video games today.
You're not welcome.
Thank you all for listening. You're the best audience in gaming for putting up with Mike specifically. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Get him an outro song.